Coming up on Tech News Today, what is Microsoft planning next week? What are they thinking? We'll speculate. Also, can anyone save Nokia or Sony? And how does free data help a new mobile company make money? All these questions will at least be attempted to be answered next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, June 14th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, featuring the MyFord mobile smartphone app for electric vehicles. The MyFord mobile app makes the electric driving experience fun and efficient. Learn more about Ford electric vehicle technologies at Ford.com/technology. And by FreshBooks, the easy online invoicing app for small businesses that saves time and gets you paid faster. Join over 3.5 million FreshBooks users and try the service free for 30 days of unlimited use at FreshBooks.com. Be sure to let them know you heard about it on Tech News Today. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us from across the vast distances between here and San Francisco is Veronica Belmont.
Hello.
If you don't know Veronica Belmont, then I don't know what to do. She hosts Techzilla on Revision 3 with Patrick Norton.
She also hosts a show with you.
Sword and Laser on both the Geek and Sundry and Frog Pants networks, audio and video. We have George R. R. Martin on the show next time.
That's a pretty big, good get, guys.
We may both pass out before we would do that.
Don't do it.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Very, very, very excited and also very nervous.
I am excited to discuss the tech news in the News Fuse. Y'all get your invites? You get your invites? Microsoft sent out invites to the media today. Big announcement in Los Angeles Monday afternoon. The odd part is this comes 2 days before the Windows Phone Summit in San Francisco, where we expect to get details on the next rev of Windows Phone OS. Best guesses are an Xbox music service or some kind of Windows RT tablet announcement. We'll discuss it in our discussion section.
And sort of sad news here, Nokia is going to cut 10,000 jobs, which is 19% of its workforce by the end of 2013. The company will also close a factory and research centers in Finland, Canada, and Germany. Nokia says that the changes will help the company save 1.6 billion euros by the end of next year. Nokia also told investors that it expects greater second quarter losses than previously announced. It does not get better. No. It just gets worse.
Not for Nokia anyway.
Yeah.
If you use Internet Explorer 7 to buy something at Australian electronics dealer Kogan, you're going to be subject to an extra 6.8% charge. Kogan calls it the Internet Explorer 7 tax and justifies the cost by saying Kogan has to spend extra time to make sure its site is viewable and compatible with IE7. If you don't want to pay the tax, though, Kogan provides helpful links to what it calls better browsers like Opera, Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. So
brilliant.
There you go. Why isn't it 7%, by the way? The tax should be
How much do you pay to use IE6?
probably just boot you off.
Yeah, they just won't take
redirect.
Net neutrality is all well and good outside your home, but a home network is your castle, and you can prejudicially manage packets however you want in your castle. Western Digital wants to help you with that. Their new line of MyNet routers automatically determine the most important packets and prioritize bandwidth usage for things like gaming, Netflix, or Skype. The combo routers and network hard drives range in price from $80 for the MyNet N600 up to $350 for the N900 Central, which has 2 terabytes of storage.
Some folks are saying that some routers do already help you do this.
Yeah.
Just in a different way.
They're trying to make it easy. It's not like they're the first router to ever do it. You're right.
I love the idea. Acer announced its Aspire A5 will be available the last week of June. The A5 is powered by an Ivy Bridge processor and is the first Ultrabook to sport a Thunderbolt port. Acer says it's the world's thinnest Ultrabook and weighs 2.65 pounds.
Bloomberg reports Microsoft is negotiating to acquire Yammer, an enterprise social network, for about $1 billion, and the deal could be official as soon as tomorrow. Yammer is used by over 200,000 companies, and of course, neither company has made an official statement on
My only Yammer friend on the CBS Interactive network is Veronica.
Am I on Yammer?
You were. It was before it was even CBS Interactive. It was CNET Networks.
Well, was it
I
just
was like,
you?
here's the thing. I'm going to sign up for it.
Yeah.
You were the only two who were enthusiastic enough to try it. It wasn't like nobody wanted to be on your network and they were all on a different one.
Other invites.
I used to use it at Current. It was actually very helpful.
It only took a couple of years, but Time Magazine and Apple have worked out their differences, and now magazines like People, Sports Illustrated, and good old Time itself will be available for subscription in the Apple newsstand. Previously, iOS users could only buy single copies of those magazines. Magazine publishers have resisted Apple's insistence that they share subscriber revenue and forego subscriber data, but Time is the last of the major publishers to succumb to Apple's whims.
T-Mobile has been one of the worst offenders in watering down the true meaning of 4G, calling their fast HSPA Plus service by the name 4G. But that's all about to change.
What?
Listen here. Engadget reports that T-Mobile USA plans to begin trials of LTE this summer with the aim of deploying LTE Advanced by summer 2013. That's
What?
right, Tom. You're hearing me correctly.
No way.
It's like your birthday party. Freaking 3G PP Release 10 LTE Advanced, the one true 4G. If you don't count 802.16m or wireless man advanced.
I'm not going to count those. Wow, actual 4G finally coming. I'm very excited.
But you don't have T-Mobile.
No, but it's actually something that's actually 4G and supposed to be called 4G.
And just knowing that will make you happy.
It will.
This is still the watered-down
the
4G.
principle of
I still
it.
don't care. It's not fast enough. After the Flame malware used a spoofed Microsoft certificate, Microsoft on Wednesday released an automatic updater for Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows Server 2008, and 2008 R2. The updater will keep track of those evil digital certificates and should allow for revoked certificates to become publicly untrusted much faster than previous methods.
I know lots of ways to become publicly untrusted really fast. 20-year-old Ryan Cleary was indicted Tuesday in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles on conspiracy and hacking charges for attacking websites operated by Fox, PBS, and Sony. Cleary ran a lulzsec IRC server but was arrested in the UK 1 year ago, where he currently faces charges of running botnets and mounting DDoS attacks. And that, my friends, is the News Fuse. We're going to dig deeper into some stories in just a second, but let's take a break and thank our sponsor, Ford, and My Ford Mobile, the smartphone app for electric vehicles. With My Ford Mobile, you can take advantage of value charging powered by Microsoft. The way that works, based on your local utilities participation, Ford customers can take advantage of off-peak or reduced rates from their utility without a complicated setup process. You just set it up from your phone, and your car charges at the times that save you money. Go times will allow you to precondition your vehicle's temperature before your departure. That conserves battery energy. You don't waste a lot of energy heating it up, cooling it down. Monitor charging allows you to get alerts, find charging stations, plan out your drive, share and learn smart driving tips and forums on MyFord's mobile website. There's gaming features that make it fun so you can see if you're conserving more energy, spending less CO2 than your friends. The MyFord mobile app makes the electric driving experience fun and efficient. And it's perfect for the 2012 Ford Focus Electric, which is available for purchase now. You can go drive it at a Ford dealer right now. Learn more about Ford electric vehicle technologies at Ford.com/technology. And we thank Ford for their support of Tech News Today. Let us dig deep into this story. We talked about Microsoft scheduling that weird LA event. Now, here's the deal. Mary Jo Foley suspects that it could be an Xbox music service that they're announcing, like further description of that. But the invite came from the PR agency that handles Microsoft Windows and Windows Phone, not the PR company that handles Xbox. They're two different PR companies.
And it just seems like a crazy time to announce something for Xbox, considering they're just coming off of E3. And Microsoft really didn't have a problem with talking about a lot of stuff that wasn't necessarily gaming related at the show this year. So it seems interesting that they would hold off something so integral to Xbox at this point.
That's a really good point. In fact, Scott on Google Plus made that same point and said, look, with E3 having just happened and the Windows Phone announcement happening on Wednesday, the only thing it could be is a Windows 8 announcement. And All Things D is speculating it could be a Windows RT tablet announcement. But why would you do that in L.A.?
And right after E3, which was just in L.A.,
Maybe they're
the
still
whole
there.
thing is strange, isn't it?
It's like they
They're
forgot
still there.
something. It's like, oh, crap, we forgot to announce this.
It's just a spare box in the giant Microsoft booth, and like, oh, that's the thing. We're supposed to. No, but then again, like they only give 4 days of notice. That's the weird thing. Okay, not like the summit that's been planned for a while. It's why so rapid. Why on a Thursday would you invite somebody from Monday on this? I'm not so concerned about it being in LA. I mean, it would make more sense for it to be in Redmond, but the location must mean something if they are doing, maybe rebranding everything with the Xbox brand. They talked about Xbox Music, Or, I mean, some people are talking about that Yammer deal going through, but that makes no sense either on that
Not in
particular
LA.
day.
Why
Right.
would they?
Why would they pick LA instead of just doing a press release? So maybe it sounds like Windows RT, because if the Windows Phone thing on Wednesday is really about Apollo and how it's going to share some things about Windows 8, it would make some more sense to go, let's tell you a little bit about the ARM-based version as well.
And that
Why not just hold on to that for the announcement for the actual Windows Phone announcement stuff that's happening? Why not just do it all at the same time?
Well, maybe because they think it's better as two separate announcements to get more press and interest drummed up than one big announcement, even if it makes that one big announcement more powerful.
Well, we are talking about it, so there's that.
I think Mary Jo's other speculation was that it could be some ad-related thing, and that would make sense to announce in LA. That's the kind of thing Microsoft would say is a big deal, but us as consumers would not care one way or another. And frankly, a lot of the consumer reporters I've talked to are not attending that LA announcement. They don't seem terribly excited about it. So my guess is we're not going to be blown away on Monday, but the Windows Phone announcement on Wednesday should be interesting. And Iyaz, Akhtar, myself, Alex Gumpel, and Mary Jo Foley will all be covering that announcement live at live.twit.tv Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, if you're interested in finding out what they say. Let's move on to the Nokia news. We heard about their layoffs, and so everyone's writing their Nokia death stories today. Sasha Segan gives them 6 months to live. Not 6 months to live exactly. He says they've got 6 months to turn it around. There's a lot of folks saying that Nokia has to make a big change. What they've been doing is not enough. Getting rid of these executives is a horrible sign because they've shuffled their executives around again. Round the horn here. What do we think is the best strategy, best moves for Nokia to succeed? And take this number in consideration. Windows Phone is considered to be their big success in North America. They shipped 2 million Lumia smartphones last quarter. In comparison, Apple sold 35.1 million iPhones.
Mm-hmm. I think that I'll start.
Sure.
I think that Nokia has no choice but to slash their workforce the way that they're doing right now. I mean, that it's true that PC Magazine says they have basically until the end of 2012, then they're going to run out of money and that'll be the end of it. This is the only way that they can prolong the death, or else they will burn through all their money and then they will have no other options. I mean, you can't fire people forever. The company just folds after a certain period of time. I don't know necessarily that that's the answer, but it will prolong the imminent end of Nokia, at least to give Stephen Elop and team some more time to try to figure out if the Lumia is really the way to go. Can they possibly pivot again? I don't know I don't exactly know what the next year and a half looks like for Nokia, even if they get more time.
They say they're doubling down on cheap phones. You think that's a good idea?
No. I think this is all desperation stuff. Absolute desperation stuff.
See, what I'm waiting for is Nokia to actually have a legit flagship phone. I mean, they think they have the 900, and that's like $100, or the 800 is $100. They don't have like a $299 phone. They don't have like a super powered phone because Windows Phone doesn't take advantage of certain pieces of hardware. And when Windows Phone 8 comes out on Wednesday, or discussed on Wednesday, they will have the ability to go, we have a really amazing phone. I think they really need to go to the premium market at this point because the cheap phones...
But that's Elop saying the opposite.
I know. That's what I'm annoyed by because I think when they came out with their flagship phone, with their Windows Phone device, it was cool looking, but they put it at $99. And when people are looking at that device comparing to other $99 devices, it looks cheaper. I mean, and that's... I don't know if you want to have a cheap...
I don't know about that. That's kind of... I don't know. That's short-sighted, I think, a little bit. I think people are I think the prices of smartphones are really coming down these days, and people are expecting them to, even though we still have phones that are hitting the $600 price mark, I think that, the rest of the country, people who are outside of the tech sphere, balk at that kind of price point. And so I think $99 is becoming a much sweeter price point, as we will see with the Ion, for example. So it's just, I don't know. It's hard, though, because... They were betting on Microsoft. They were really betting on Windows Phone, and that hasn't paid off in the short term. And so in order to get to that long-term, those prospects, they have to obviously slash a ton of jobs just to stay in business that long. So they're in a tough position. And the OS market for them isn't going to work out either, because we're so in this place now where we have 2, potentially 3 different operating systems that people are becoming accustomed to. So it's like, where do you go from here? Do you work on a less expensive smartphone option like they're trying to, like they're putting their bets on with the Lumia? Or like you say, do they go on a much more expensive, high-end kind of phone? I think that market might be closed off right now. I think that there's already enough options in that space.
Yeah, I think that would be a bad way to go, too. They wouldn't sell enough, and then they would. I'm not talking about the luxury
line, that Virtu line they got rid of. I'm not talking about like the $700 phone, the unsubsidized phone. But you have to have a standout phone, and they don't have a single one. Right now,
I don't think they have time to make one, though. I mean, it's like the clock is ticking here.
That's true. They've been burning through a lot of money.
I agree with all of you.
You don't think the Lumia is a standout phone? I mean, it's not selling.
It's their standout phone, but that's not a standout phone in the realm of all phones.
Well, I think it could be with some improvements, and I think it has to be on all carriers. And I'm speaking U.S.-centric here, but I think it applies in other markets as well. You have to have a hero phone, a Galaxy S3 or an iPhone or something that is available across the carriers. It doesn't matter what carrier you want, and it's got some feature. And I don't know if that's going to be the PureView camera, maybe. I mean, that's going to get camera people excited, but I'm not sure if it gets enough other people excited. But they have to have something that makes people say, wow, I want that phone. I don't think price matters necessarily. I mean, I think it can be a cheap phone and still be a hero phone. I think, in fact, that's what Elop may be saying is we're going to beat people on price. We're going to make an amazing phone that competes with these other phones but is less expensive to buy. And I think that would be a smart move. I don't see how you do that with Microsoft charging for the operating system as much as they are. But I guess they're getting enough of a break. They think they could do it in the short term.
I think the fact of the matter is we are out of the time now where there are, feature phones are going the way of the dinosaur. I mean, it's all about the smartphone now. And so the problem is getting smartphones to a price point, to a feature phone price point. And I think, $99 is getting closer, but we still need things in the, the $70, $60 range or less.
Yeah, those cheap smartphones in places like China and India and Africa are dominated now by Android, and that's a burgeoning market, and Nokia sees that, and they want a piece of that. I'm not sure they can compete with Android on that level. I just don't. I think they have to. I think they have to aim a little above that to succeed. I don't know. Maybe they should buy RIM. They probably don't have enough cash to pull it off right now, and RIM doesn't want to be bought. At least it kind of is coy about it. But if they could include BlackBerry Messenger service or something like that in a Windows Phone device, maybe Microsoft should buy RIM and then bundle it in. I don't know, but they need something big.
Definitely some investments from partners, I think. That's part of it. Like if they either partner with RIM or Microsoft waits long enough that both companies are kind of dead, they could pick them up. It just seems like it's just a matter of time. And one of the reasons I'm saying this higher price point is because they don't have a lot of time left. So they kind of have to do something.
Yeah, the clock is definitely ticking. Another company that the clock is ticking on their phone market, not in as much trouble, generally speaking, as Nokia, is Sony. And they've got a new Xperia phone hitting AT&T on June 24th.
Yeah, the Sony Xperia Ion is hitting AT&T on June 24th for $99, that magical price point. And this is the first Sony-only branded device. Sony bought out its partner Ericsson from its joint venture, I believe it was last year or was this year. The phone itself, LTE, it's AT&T's first Sony LTE device. Android 2.3.7, so it's got gingerbread, but it's very modified to include some features found on Ice Cream Sandwich, a 4.6-inch screen, and unlike some other older Sony Ericsson phones, there's a lot of Sony integrated parts in this. There's apparently a video engine from Sony's Bravia TV line, a 12-megapixel camera with image sensor from Sony's camera line, and it also includes NFC, dual-core processor, 1080p video. It can do that. Now, it's not considered a hero phone. And Sony did work with AT&T on designing this thing for the carrier, but apparently people familiar with the matter say that AT&T is not really going to give it a huge push. So Sony's going to spend some money on marketing money here. And right now, Sony's not even in the top 5 makers of smartphones, as according to April 2012 numbers, according to ComScore. And last year, it had 5% in 2011, making it the number 7 smartphone maker. So the thing is, what do you guys think of the phone, first of all? And is this all Sony approach going to make it a difference? And what's a win?
This seems like the sort of phone that if Sony was still that number 1 brand that people just bought because it was the best, this would be a slam dunk, like a no-brainer. I mentioned on the show before, I'm sort of a Sony faithful. I have a Bravia TV, but I've been told by many of my more home theater enthusiast friends that it sucks compared to its competition, and I kind of did it out of frustration where I'm like, I'll just go with Sony. Sony's okay, right? So this is, when it comes to mobile phones, it's like Sony isn't the top dog in this space at all. So I don't really know why you'd go with this unless you just really like the idea of the Sony brand.
Price, $100. Less than $100.
It's that price point thing again.
And you're getting a 4.6-inch screen, 12-megapixel camera. I mean, you're getting all these things that you mentioned for a really good price. The question is, do I need ice cream sandwich on this thing? And it's got gingerbread instead.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the gate in 2012, halfway through 2012 with gingerbread on it, it seems like a non-starter to me. Even if all the other hardware is okay, you're just starting right out of the gate behind the wall. Doesn't make sense.
So there's a note here that I think is very interesting, and that is, why is it just Apple and Samsung at this point? Is it a trend? Is it their design? Is it the iOS versus Android, and just the Samsung phones are doing Android better than other hardware manufacturers? Like, this is the tough egg to crack, right? Amongst all the other hardware makers. Why are they better? Why do people like them more? What is that key?
Well, Apple, we could spend more time than has already been spent talking about why they're so successful. I think that can be found all over the place, why people theorize that Apple wins at this and that. Samsung is the less studied part of that equation, and I think it probably has to do with the fact that Samsung won the Android war. A lot of people will say they ripped off Apple in doing so. A lot of people say, no, Samsung's just really good at design. But either way, they design very good phones.
Apple might say that.
Yeah, exactly. And so
you just have to shroud your next phone in secrecy. Apple and Samsung seem to have locked that down, and then everyone loves it.
And that's a big part of it, right? I think one of the reasons that Samsung is really successful, aside from just the success that they've had on the hardware side of it, is the marketing. And that's absolutely where Apple reigns supreme, right? They're such good marketers at their products, and we'll get to
it's a marriage of design and marketing.
Absolutely. And Samsung's kind of taken that ticket from Apple a little bit, and obviously is trying to kind of play the same card. But they're also unifying their brand a little bit. Samsung has a lot of different devices, but they all kind of come under a similar name. And if they're good and they all come under the similar name, then it's easier for even more people to understand or remember that Samsung has a good phone, and it's called the Galaxy S whatever.
So I think with this being a Sony-only device, it's not a Sony-Ericsson thing. Sony can actually put their money behind it as opposed to going, do we want to give it to our joint venture? Can they raise enough money? Is our partners going to put this together? It's not about that. This is Sony actually going out for this. So I think they have the ability, maybe, because this is just Sony. They might be able to push, because under it's Cachefly now doing the whole one initiative, that it's all for the same thing. They said the smartphone is the hub of their system. So they want that to interact with your television, which is supposed to be Sony, your PlayStation, whatever, and it's supposed to all work together. But they had that very odd Sony Ericsson like Xperia Play, and they had this. It sort of worked. That PlayStation Mobile thing kind of worked. I think with this Sony only kind of situation, it might be more beneficial than them for their old compared to their old strategies.
The death stroke here is that they don't have carrier support. They're not getting carrier marketing. This is not going to succeed as much as they need. Go ahead, Veronica.
Sony's getting a little bit better at the whole ecosystem thing, which I think is another one of the driving forces for success in the smartphone market right now. They're combining a lot of their different services. I saw this, in the S tablet. They're combining Crackle, they're combining their music service, PlayStation, all the Sony services that are in their ecosystem into a device, and that's working okay. But I mean, combining that with Android, and I think that it could potentially be a good competition, but at the same time, do enough people use these other Sony products to make it worthwhile and to make it interesting? I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we got more stories to discuss. I want to take a quick break, though, and thank our other sponsor for today's show, FreshBooks. We use FreshBooks on Sword and Laser LLC to send our invoices. If you're in business for yourself, it's the one thing that will help you do the thing you love the most, getting paid, and minimize the pain of the thing you hate the most, which is doing paperwork. Something out there making invoicing easier. You got to check out FreshBooks.com. Since 2004, they've been the online invoicing app that will get you paid faster. save you time in invoicing because they create the invoice for you. Once you put in all the data, you just say where it's going, what the address is, how much. They put the invoice together, make it look professional, send out the emails, send out reminders to the client saying, hey, you haven't paid yet. Here, this is the due date. Be sure to pay. They handle all that stuff for you. And even if you're like, well, I got this one client here, I have to print it out and mail it to them, they'll do that for you too if you just pay a little bit extra. Use an iPhone app to track your time and invoice your customers when you're away from the office. FreshBooks also lets you try their service for free. Sign up right now and you can get 30 days of unlimited use. All the features, the clients, the staff, everything, no limits, just by signing up at freshbooks.com. Be sure to tell them you heard about it from Tech News Today. When you sign up, they'll say, hey, did anyone tell you about FreshBooks? A little drop-down menu. Choose Tech News Today there, and you will get 30 days of unlimited usage. Join 3.5 million FreshBooks users that have been sending and paying invoices at freshbooks.com, including myself. Try it for free, freshbooks.com, and we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Back to Karma. Instant Karma? What is this? This is an intriguing mobile data service.
Yeah, not to be confused with the Karma that Facebook bought recently. This is also called Karma, but it's very, very different.
Wait, what was the one that Facebook bought?
Oh, it's like a way for me to buy you a gift.
Oh, okay.
Add goodwill,
so this is a totally
different. Although when I first read the story, I was very confused because it took me a few minutes to realize it was very different. Karma is a company that just graduated from the Techstars New York Accelerator Program, which is sort of a program that you go into to get a small amount of money and mentoring and kind of helps your startup get off of the ground. They've now raised about $1 million in capital, and they have a very interesting business model. The Karma hotspot is actually a physical hotspot, pretty small. It's supposed to be able to be in a pocket or a backpack sort of thing. Costs $69. Is powered by Clearwire's network, at least for the meantime, which provides WiMAX 4G service in 80 cities in the U.S., major cities. Here's the cool thing, though. Users pay $14 per gigabyte of data that they use. No monthly fees, no minimums, no extra device charges or anything like that. It's $14 per gigabyte of data. What's interesting is that, okay, so I've got this little Karma hotspot on my person. I'm walking around. I am now a hotspot. I am an open Wi-Fi network.
It's like South by Southwest.
Kind of, yeah. Tom gets close enough to me, and he can hop onto my network. When he joins my network, he's going to be taken to a personalized page that tells him a little bit more about the person he's connected to. Maybe I can add a little bio information.
I don't know if I want to tell people
you don't have
about
to.
Me, but okay,
you don't have to. But it could almost be like
it's a social thing.
Yeah, if you had a small business or something, it could be my opportunity to give you my Twitter account or whatever. Okay, so then you think, well, what about those gigabytes that you're paying for? This stranger, or Tom, if I know him, sign in through their Facebook account. Then they get 100 megabytes of free browsing. I then get 100 megabytes taken off of my total tally for the month.
So you get 100 megabytes free. They get 100 megabytes free.
So it's as if
everybody wins.
I don't lose anything by you connecting, but you get Wi-Fi when you need it. Well,
and then when I get to the end of my 100 megabytes, I can buy another gigabyte for $14, and I don't even have to have the hardware because I'm just slurping it off of you.
Yes,
that's right. So that's how Karma makes their money.
Karma calls this social telecom. And it's interesting because you might say, well, wait a second, no unlimited plan, that's crazy. But if you compare this to Verizon's shared data plan, which we talked about earlier in the week, it's a lot more expensive. It's unlimited.
Verizon is a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Verizon's providing unlimited talk and text, but then a package of data. They're charging $50 for a gigabyte on a shared plan, but then as much as $40 for any device that you add on to that. This is not that at all. Karma is like, I don't really care what your setup is. You're just paying us this flat rate. What's also cool is, I think to myself, gigabyte of data, $14. How many gigs would I go over? But there is a recent study from Analysis Mason found that the average smartphone user, so this is just smartphones, this is not tablets or whatever, smartphone user consumes 221 megabytes of data per month. That sounds low to me. But let's just say that this applies to people. If you translate that over into Karma's prices, that's a monthly cost of just over $3. So that could be a huge savings.
I pay for a MiFi that's $50 for 5 gigabytes. That's $10 a gigabyte. So that's cheaper than this if I use all of it. The advantage here is those months that I'm not using all 5 gigabytes, I don't have to pay. I only pay $14.
It's pay as you go.
So if you use a lot of data, it's not necessarily a great thing unless you get a lot of strangers to slurp your Wi-Fi and you're getting a bunch of 100 megabytes.
Right. Or, I don't know, friends at the coffee shop type of thing. I guess it just depends on what your routine is.
Well, the way I read it, once one person gets their free 100 megabytes from you, they don't get another free 100 megabytes ever. They're just in the system now, and they have to pay the $14 from them.
Right, because they've signed in through Facebook. So
you always have to be collecting new people.
There is an authentication.
Going to new coffee shops.
Well, and that's how the word spreads.
Yeah, but running off of Clearwire's network, so it's WiMAX, so that's a limited amount of market. So you got to make sure that at least your friends who have these devices are nearby and they're still in the right area. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not going to work everywhere. Like, I'm looking at the coverage map. I mean, I guess if you're anywhere in North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, or like in most of Idaho, you got nothing. So, I mean, it's kind of nice if you are in a covered area. It's just it's almost like if you are willing to do the work to find out, okay, does this have the coverage area? You could save a lot of money, but you got to make sure that you're covered.
Right. This is also going to be rolling out in New York to start at the end of the year. They say that they want to roll out in the city with 500 hotspots. They partnered with an ODM in Asia for the hardware. So there's a little bit of does this idea even work? And if it does, and if people really love it, then we talk about partnering with some other providers.
Chat room says it sounds complicated, but I don't think it sounds that complicated.
No,
I think it's more. I just like thinking of the idea of someone walking down the street with a Karma hotspot in their pocket, and you trying to follow them to like keep up with your Wi-Fi connection because you don't have like 3G or something.
You're trying to guess who's the guy with Karma in his pocket. I think it's that guy. Follow him.
I'm losing bars. It must be the other direction.
He went that way.
Directional
tracking. It's going to be like
tracking.
ants. You're just going to see a bunch of people at a conga line walking around for Karma.
All right, we talked about Samsung's secrecy program a little bit earlier, and they've been bragging about this.
Yes, that doesn't make any sense, but it's what Samsung just did. Samsung is bragging about the secrecy that around the Galaxy S3 by publishing a blog post explaining all the techniques they used to make sure the S3 wasn't found out ahead of time. The post would tell stories of how parents couldn't tell their kids what they were working on. They said the S3 was a top secret project. Everything was kept in security boxes, even if you wanted to move it across the hallway. No photographs or drawings were able. You couldn't make any photographs or drawings of the device. So if there was a problem with the phone, you'd have to describe what the problem was to the other engineers. So that's kind of annoying. Samsung also worked on 3 different working prototypes. And there's a tale from one of the engineers, the antenna engineer, saying he had to keep making the antennas work for each one of these things because that way nobody knew what the S3 would look like.
Oh, it's like shooting 3 different endings to the special episode.
And each prototype was in a dummy box. So even if you just had this case that disguised the whole thing, even if you got a photo of one of the 3, you still didn't know what it looked like because it was covered. Now, I guess the real question is, did this get Samsung the kind of attention it wanted? I know there was a lot of leaks. People like, this is the S3. Is it called the S3? That was the other big thing floating around. Is this kind of like Apple-like secrecy a good idea? And then what about actually telling everybody, hey, we were keeping a secret, and this is how we did it?
This is my biggest problem with this is, Samsung, what is wrong with you? You pulled it off, and then you told everybody how the magic trick worked, and then now you can't do that again.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. They're so proud of themselves.
It's really actually kind of cute. In a way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we did it. Now let's tell everyone what we did.
Do you want to know how I made that quarter disappear? Here, I'll show you.
Let's write a blog post.
Yeah.
People are going to love it. Oh, shoot. Now, next time we got to do something else because everyone knows our tactics.
The next time will be 4 devices and 5 devices. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think they're going to get the same coverage the next time. And that I thought their secrecy was really smart. People were writing about it. We were all like, okay, what are they doing with this device? And now that we know everything, it's going to be, okay, that's probably one.
But we don't really know everything. I mean, it's not like they're giving away their big secrets. They're just explaining how they kept things secret. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're learning the secret sauce into how they made the phone or how they did the... I don't know. It's kind of a non-story in a way. It's cute and it's funny that they got excited about being all secretive, but it's not like we're actually learning anything about their process.
I'm just expecting a bunch of blog posts with photos of like a Samsung employee walking with a box. And people are like, that's the S4 in the box, because that's what they do. It's like, it seems silly.
What apparently they do is be extra clever, get everyone to talk about the fact that they talked about the fact that they kept things secret.
And they tell two
My
friends.
brain hurts.
And they tell two friends.
Is this real life?
Let's finish up with not going to the dentist, but talking about Microsoft and Yelp.
Yeah, Yelp has had a pretty good week, I will say, all told. We started
Guess
off,
who's having the best week
it's
ever?
Yelp. We started off the week with Yelp being named as the provider of business listings and reviews for Siri in Apple's voice assistant coming through in iOS 6. Also part of its 3D mapping service, which is a highly anticipated Google Maps killer, or certainly Google Maps opponent. So that was pretty cool for Yelp. And now we hear from Microsoft that Yelp is going to be adding snippets, photos, business details to Bing users, at least in the U.S., and will be placed prominently on Bing local pages. Wow, this certainly sounds like Google Local and Zagat.
Yeah. It wasn't Yelp complaining that Google was doing just this kind of thing?
They were scraping their data?
Yeah.
Well, but yes, that's true. Well, but this is different, though, because this is like, if you search for something on Bing, Yelp stuff is up there front and center. They're more of a partner of ours, and there might be some more going on behind the scenes between what sort of deals they struck.
Little scratch my back, I'll pay you.
Maybe. I don't. Well, I mean, okay, let's compare this to something like Encyclopedia Britannica results now on Bing. I was like, okay, whatever. Yelp is actually a service that I use all the time. That makes Bing a lot more attractive to me.
Although you can just go to Yelp.
That's true, but if I'm already in a search engine and you have to get used to using a search engine because it's got everything there for you, and then you go to a specific website when you need that specific website. This makes Bing more attractive to me. I mean, probably the most compelling reason that I might consider using Bing instead of Google on a regular basis.
But will you?
Said might.
Veronica's been using Alta Vista for years. Are you going to switch?
Oh, I'm still on. I'm still on Ask Jeeves. That's the thing, right? What I think is really funny here is that a lot of us were thinking that Yelp was kind of on its way out because there were so many issues with the company and so many issues with the kinds of reviews that they were getting in terms of them being disingenuous or actual, and then the bullying of certain local businesses to not use Yelp and all that stuff. And now, I think it's just because the sheer number of people who are on the service is making it a legitimate service again. Just because these other companies like Bing are saying, hey, well, all these people are already on here. They've already filled this data up. They've filled all this content out. It makes sense to use it. And maybe that will bring another, turn the tide back to Yelp again for us to look favorably on it. I don't know. It's an interesting situation with Yelp.
Yeah, and Kent from Chicago's like, you can still Google for Yelp, but well, of course, they didn't de-index them. It just means when you're searching for a general restaurant on Google, they surface Zagat ratings up at the top. Bing will now surface Yelp ratings up at the top.
In all seriousness, I think Yelp would much rather be an official partner of Google, the place that most people are searching in general, but that's not going to happen.
They had some
take your deals where you can get them.
Yeah, they're not BFFs these days.
If you can be pals with Apple for the powering part of Siri, and you can be pals with Microsoft, I think these are pretty powerful partners.
Yeah, I think the two of the two announcements together mean, wow, Yelp is kind of that. It's, I don't know, your leg up on a lot of things. You want to look for where something is in Maps. You want to ask Siri about something. You're getting Yelp results. You're on Microsoft Bing. You're searching for something. You get a lot of information from Yelp. All of a sudden, Yelp becomes an indispensable product.
I don't know. I'm switching to DuckDuckGo on my new Opera for Windows installation.
I knew that was coming.
Let's talk pizza in the randomizer.
Randomizer.
In fact, the name of the company is Let's Pizza, an Italian creation that has been around in Europe for 3 years. It's a pizza vending machine, and it's coming to the United States. A1 Concept is the machine's Netherlands-based distributor. I'm sorry, A1 Concepts, and has announced it will inaugurate the first Let's Pizza vending machine in Atlanta later this year. This is probably the most hilarious demonstration video I've ever seen. It's obviously someone... hold on. It's obviously it's an Italian woman who's being dubbed in English, and they make a really big deal out of the fact that there are no humans involved in making this pizza.
As you can see, the pizza was prepared without being touched by any hands and in a human-free environment. The infrared oven cooks at 380 degrees.
It's a human-free environment. No humans went into the making of this pizza.
But pizza, the best pizza is made with love.
It's not hot enough of an oven.
In which the pizza
How do you know it's not hot enough?
It's not hot enough for Neapolitan-style pizza. Anyway.
So we're going to just rag on the fact that but it's still a pizza vending machine.
A healthy, genuine Italian pizza is served with a guarantee
That doesn't
of
look
total
very
hygiene.
genuine.
A guarantee of total hygiene.
I don't care about hygiene.
What if somebody
Well,
sneezes?
okay, I do care about hygiene. I care more about the best tasting pizza around. I just
I
don't.
don't know. It looks pretty good. Not while it's being made. They
What's
talk
that?
a lot
Rather
about
my pizza come
hygiene
out of a
with
truck.
the ingredients too.
What's that saying
Yeah,
about-
like how often are the ingredients being loaded into the vending machine?
They
how
are fresh and refrigerated, not frozen.
Okay, so how often is that? Are they fresh
Well,
and
obviously
wilting
you have to keep
in
them.
there?
You have to keep them up to date.
I mean,
I will
twice a
eat
day.
this pizza. I will eat this pizza.
You know, if this is available in by the time we get to Dragon Con in September, we should seek it out and try it out.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely. I mean, I will eat any kind of pizza. Well, I don't want to say that because then the chat room's going to start coming up with all sorts of pizzas.
cat hair pizza.
But I wouldn't eat it now. No. But and I think it's interesting. I mean, I love vending machine food in Japan. So who am I to judge that other vending machines can't have quality food in them?
I'm intrigued.
I'll eat any pizza either. I'll eat really bad pizza. I'll complain about it, but I'll eat the whole thing.
No, I've seen you do that.
So-
like, this pizza's so awful. Chomp,
So
chomp.
maybe it's not the best, but yes, at the right time when you're hungry and there's a vending machine, it will look like a beautiful mirage that's real, and then I'll put in some quarters.
I'm very excited about Let's Pizza. And even if you're not, you should go watch this video because it's freaky. Because the woman's mouth does not match the words at all. She's like eating the pizza at the very end, and she's still talking.
Still talking. That's amazing.
All right, let's see what's on the calendar.
Opera 12 is launched with new visual themes and enhanced security. Opera users should be happy about that. The Canon EOS 1DX is now set to launch on June 20th. However, supply will be limited. So if it's something that you care about,
Order now.
I hope you're on top of this. And Verizon Galaxy S3 ship date has been pushed back one day, just a day, to July 10th.
All right, let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We got an email from Vance because we singled him out yesterday when we were doing the Android versus iOS fragmentation talk. He said, I thought I would give a quick analysis of why I think iOS and Android users fight. Number one, for years, Android fans have endured a certain degree of smug condescension and even ridicule from iPhone users. The iPhone was just better, but as Android has come to equal and some would argue surpass iOS, there is a certain degree of getting their own back by Android users and a bit of defensive hostility by iOS. I think that's absolutely true. Point number two, I think there's an underlying belief in zero-sumness going on. The idea that the extent to which one platform dominates will impact the quality of that platform's experience. The app development issue, for example. I'm a little shaky on that one. I think I see what he's saying. You have to win the whole game somehow. And number three, I think most of it is simply the rivalry phenomenon in human nature. Why do Cubs fans trash talk the Cardinals fans? Because they're stupid, Vance. And vice versa. Going back to ancient Rome, when there were brawls in the street between supporters of the blue and the green chariot teams, there is a deep-seated enjoyment we derive from supporting our club and bashing its rival. All silly? Sure. Can we all get along? Sure. But where's the fun in that?
See, you know, the sports thing always bothered me because there are playoff spots, and when one guy gets in, another team is out. So that's why that matters. But if I had an Android device and an iOS device, it doesn't make a difference. It's not like I've stopped you from getting one, unless I guess supplies were limited kind of situations. But it's not the same. When people do the sports analogy, I just think that's just false. And as for the app situation, it seems like developers will go where the money is. So if you can get money on both platforms, they'll go.
I think this. Well, you really think the sports analogy is false? I think it's absolutely true.
There's no playoffs. Like I'm going to take away your phone.
But it's like that's why do I get riled up over a team that I've been programmed to hate? I don't know. I don't have a great reason, but there is a fun aspect of it. It's just like this is what I do. This is the person that I am.
Yeah,
I am loyal.
I have some of my best friends I've known for years, went to college with, went to high school with, who are idiotic Cubs fans, and I have no idea why. You know, but other than that, they're perfectly normal human beings.
So you can forgive them their terrible choices in life.
And the thing is, I don't know why. I see what you're saying, Iyaz, which is in sports, it seems logical why people are like that, or not logical, but it seems understandable why people are like that. But why do you cheer for Android or iOS when there isn't a playoffs? That's a great question. But they do. People do. They pick sides and they tie their identity to this stuff.
I think a part of this also has to do with the fact that you spend money on something, and unless you're the kind of person who jumps around between OSs, you're probably going to be there for a while, because it's like you make a decision and you've bet on this operating system. And when somehow your choices are challenged and you feel like someone might be insinuating that you've made a bad choice, you personally have made a bad choice with your money and your time, especially when it comes to technology, because people love to try to point the finger and make someone else feel like they don't know as much. That's where people get all hussied.
Ken points out there is sort of a playoffs, top selling. You know, who's got market share.
That's not playoffs.
That's a really long game.
It's a never-ending season. There's never a playoff. There's never a champion declared.
Let's make this best out of 7.
You're being awfully quiet over there.
I was thinking that technology, I think, has taught me more about sports than actually watching sports has. From all these analogies, I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Do you find yourself getting defensive over brands anymore, or has doing this job of covering technology kind of obliterated that?
It absolutely has obliterated it. I mean, I am primarily an iPhone user because I'm tied into that world with iTunes and with everything at this point. But I'm not, I never really say like, oh, Android or oh, Windows Phone. Like, I think they make great phones and I enjoy both of those operating systems. So it's just a matter of what I picked and what I've kind of been stuck with, as Sarah had noted.
Can we just agree that all of these mobile operating systems suck? How about that? They all don't do everything we want.
Well, they all have good and they all have bad.
There we go.
Now it sounds like politics, right? Where it's like all the parties suck, you know? And
you pick one.
And it is very similar to politics as well. It's sort of, you know, people get very attached to their side. And if you say something nice about the other side, you're suddenly a shill for them.
How dare you?
You know, we get that a lot where it's like, no, we're not saying your side sucks.
Right.
And why are you on a side anyway? You're a consumer. You should just pick the best thing.
The Apple fanboy thing is the thing that always cracks me up the most, because we just had someone commented the other day about Texilla that we don't talk about Apple stuff enough. And this is when both Patrick and I have MacBook Airs like sitting on the desk and we talk about Apple stuff all the time. So it's just like people hear what they want to hear.
Absolutely.
They kind of perceive it the way that they're attuned to. And it always kind of cracks me up.
Now you're going to get the like you guys are shills for Apple because you own Apple things.
Yeah, exactly. In some ways, it's kind of unfortunate. I feel like it's unfortunate that I was representing the Android side yesterday, because what Vance describes here is something that I try to make sure I don't buy into. I don't enjoy going to an Android site and seeing a bunch of people trash talking iOS, and vice versa, seeing the same thing. So I don't prescribe to that myself. So yesterday I realized, and I was taken to task on Twitter by a few people, you know, they said, well, you just kind of laid down in that argument and gave up. And it's not necessarily that. I'm a huge Android fan. I just want to see it become better and better. And these are the things that I think it can improve on, instead of playing kind of like the Android party line of like, oh yeah, well, this is what really sucks about your operating system. I just don't do that.
Yeah. Let's let George have the last word on this.
Hi, Tom, says George. He's talking directly to you.
It's just me. Okay,
Have you
I'm
ever
listening.
thought that the reason only Android users care or get ticked off when the iPhone gets features later is because Apple is always suing the crap out of everyone for copying them?
He wrote S asterisk asterisk.
I'm paraphrasing. Also, for whatever reason, the features are acknowledged and touted as innovation, but only when Apple introduces it.
Yeah. See, and there we go. That's what starts the battles. That's what starts the wars right there.
Last email from Sean in Ontario, Canada. Hey, TNT crew, I can understand the internet community being upset with the new ads in Skype, but getting rid of these ads is actually a cheap and easy thing to do. I added $10 to my Skype credit 3 years ago and still haven't used it all. This means I will not be seeing ads in my calls. I wish there were more free services I could pay a few dollars to remove ads from. Another perspective is that Skype users have been subsidizing the free users for a long time. Maybe this will help reduce costs for the paying users.
You know, it's true. I have some Skype credit, and recently it said, "Hey, you're going to be running out of your time period. You need to make a call." So I called myself for 2 seconds, spent 2 cents, and
wait, you have to keep kind of kicking it into action in order for it to count? Because I have credits too, but I use them. So
you probably make calls out from that number more often than I do. I get lots of calls in because I pay for Skype in service yearly, but I almost never make calls out from that number. So I will occasionally get this like, hey, you've been inactive too long. You're going to lose your credits unless you make a call. So you just make a call. And this is great. Brilliant, Sean.
But how can you lose the credits? I mean, that is money you've paid. Like, how does that work exactly?
I guess they're just saying, look, it costs us to continue to account for this and keep a balance. And if you're not going to use it, we're just going to call that a fee.
Oh, to steal our money. Awesome. That's great.
And you're out. But it's so easy to just call yourself for 2 seconds and it costs you 2 cents. And then you keep your money for another 6 months. Doesn't really bother me. And
Chat room is saying the same thing happens with gift cards and pay-as-you-go cards. I still think it's stupid and
gift
stealing.
cards do have expiration dates on them because of accounting. It costs you money to account for that. You have to pay taxes on it as a company until you finally cash it out. Jason, we have an announcement to make.
Get ready for this, although you heard it earlier this week. But next week, we'll be rolling out higher quality encoding formats.
Yay.
That's upgrading the videos to HD videos. Part of this process, if you're subscribed to the large video feed and using an older device like a second-gen iPod Touch, you might not be able to play the updated format, though the smaller mobile format will continue to work. So when iTunes actually sees these incompatible formats, it just stops syncing without warning. So that's a warning to you to check. If you have an older device, visit twit.tv/watch. And you can find more information and some sample files there so that you can check your device compatibility with the new feeds.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening and for submitting stories in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Great place to look at what other folks in the audience think are cool tech stories. We use it to decide what stories go in the show. It's one of the places we look. So get in there and vote. If you do nothing else, go in there and vote for a couple things. I voted for a couple things today. I try not to do that too often because I don't want to throw stuff off, but the pizza story was just too awesome. I had to vote for it. TechNewsToday.reddit.com. We thank folks who moderate it and everybody who participates there. Veronica Belmont, thank you for being on the show. It's always great having you along.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, next time maybe I can do in studio. That'd be fun.
Yeah, you should. Absolutely. I don't want to wear you out on the days when we record Sword and Laser and you're up here at Pixel Core, but maybe another time you can just try.
That's true. And everyone, please subscribe to Sword and Laser on Geek and Sundry at youtube.com/Geek and Sundry. We are having George R. R. Martin on the next show, and I'm super excited about it, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, we're all going to die with excitement.
Tune in.
Everyone who works on the show is like,
everyone except George R. R. Martin is allowed to die.
Yeah, exactly. No, please, no. All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call and leave us a voicemail message. 260-TNT-SHOW is the number. Patrick Beja from France, where Sarah's going soon, joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.